Okay, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. In the last video I went through a Lightroom tutorial and I went through the features that I use when editing my photos. So I thought in this video we will try and apply those features to some edits. I forgot to say in the last video I've got a MacBook Pro, so I use a C-port adapter to get all my pictures from my SD card onto my MacBook. It's got various ports, it's got USB, it's got a GoPro port and obviously the SD card. So I thought we'd start off nice and simple with just this picture that I took the other day. Obviously the subject of the picture, your eyes get drawn into the light, and then it's just got, you know, a nice picture around it, and it's just very plain and simple, but I want to go for quite a dreamy effect with this. So let's head over to the editing. So first of all, like I said in the other video, most of my photos I upload to Instagram, so I'm going to make this 4x5, and we won't be able to get the light completely in the middle without cutting the picture off at the top, but I'm going to leave it like that. Then I'm also going to just straighten out. So you drag your line across like this, or just pull that up like that. Okay, so we're going to bring the exposure down a bit because I really want to put all the focus onto that light. So just a tad like that. With this I might bring the highlights up a bit just to make the light brighter, but most of this I'm not going to touch. To make that dreamy effect, the key is clarity, so I'm going to bring the clarity down. As you can see, it brings the sharpness out of it basically, and you can always put some texture in it if you want it to be a bit sharp. How I alter most of like my darks and highlights and shadows and things like this is with the tone curve. I think usually it looks like this, gives you the dimensions at the bottom of highlights, lights, darks and shadows, but I prefer using it like this. So to get that faded effect, which is going to make it look dreamy as well, I've said dreamy far too many times now, is you bring this up like this. So it takes the shadows out basically, or it takes the blacks out. So I want some blacks in there still, so I'm going to make it faded like that, but I'm going to crush the blacks by bringing it in. With the tone curve, you usually want to make sort of like an S shape. So you want to bring the darks down and bring the highlights up. This is just a rule of thumb, like you don't have to do it. To be honest, there'll probably be someone watching this and they'll think, what the fuck is he doing? And to be honest, I don't actually know what the fuck I'm doing. Lightroom is literally playing around with it, seeing what works best. If you drag it down too much, it's going to put loads of grain in it, so just play around with it, but I usually try and make some sort of S on the tone curve. So for the colours, I'm only really going to mess with the light, to be honest. I want to try and make it a bit redder, so I'm going to use the orange and the yellow. I'm going to bring the luminous up. So far it's very subtle what it's done, but I think it's had quite a big effect. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that most of my pictures are quite blue, they have quite a blue effect, and that's always done here, mainly with the highlights and the split toning. So I usually make this 200 and this between about 25 and 35. So I think we'll go 30, see what that looks like. So it just adds that subtle blue into the highlights. That's just my style of editing. I like that. I might add in, I'm going to add in a radial filter over this picture. So I inverted it, so everything is going to be affected inside, which is what I want because I want to make that picture a bit brighter. I'm just going to bring it up a bit. That, maybe some clarity, not too much though because it's going to start to get a bit grainy. And then the last thing I might do is, because it's in a dark room, the wall needs replacing anyway, it's shit, but you can see the graininess in it. That's probably because my ISO was set to, let's see what it was set to, so it's 500. Probably that's probably why. So it's just got a bit of graininess to it. So that's what we call noise. And to take that noise out, we just want to move this bar here. And as you can see, it brings it out. If I go over to history, I'll show you that happening. So if I just click back one, you can see that it's grainy, and then you click that and it's just gone a bit. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to press 5 and 8 and I'm done with that. I'm going to fuck him off. I'm going to fuck him off. Okay, next up, we've got this picture I took the other day. Really random, just saw a beam of light come through, glasses on a table, and thought, let's try and make a picture of it. Ended up being a good picture. It's on my Instagram if you want to go over there and check it out. But let's try and recreate it again today. So, like I said in my last video, I try and fill the negative space. Obviously, as you can see here, there's a lot of negative space. But I think the diffuse light coming through the window is really going to fill up that negative space once we start to make it a bit brighter. I'm going to keep it dark down here still, just to add a bit more effect to the photo. So first of all, again, let's make it 4x5. Glasses right in the center. I'm going to bring the exposure up a bit just so we can see what we're working with. Straight off the bat, let's go and bring up the noise reduction to get some of that graininess out. So this time I will use things like highlights because it's going to make this light just shine through a bit more and accent it a bit more. So we'll do that, and we'll bring the shadows down a bit, whites up. I sometimes bring the blacks up because then on the tone curve, crush them. So it just helps. I've seen various videos of people do that and realize that it's a good tip. Don't ask me why it works, but it works. Then we're going to bring this down a bit and bring the shadows up like that. Also, I think let's take a bit of clarity out of it as well, because I'm going to brighten up the glasses with the brush tool, just so your eyes focus straight towards the subject, which is obviously being the glasses. So I'm not going to touch any of the colours for now. So we're going to zoom in here, use the brush tool, make sure your feather, so if we look at this right now, it's got a tiny little outline ring. I want to make the feather completely zero, so it's just a solid line. Size I can mess with on my touchpad, or you can do it here, up to you. I just do it on here because it's easier. And the flow, we'll make it around 40%. I'm going to press O so I can see what I'm working with. So I'll catch you in a bit. My God, that took fucking forever. And I'm not gonna lie, yes, it was a pretty shit job. I'm just doing a rough sort of outline just to show you how it works. But yes, this sort of thing does take a while, but I think it helps in the long run. So as we can see, it's like that. It's really rough, I know, but let's bring the brightness up. And straight away you can see a lot of light to that. Just a little bit, but it's something. And if not, we can put a bit of contrast in there as well. If it still doesn't bite, I think is enough. You can always put a radial filter over it, invert it, bring up that brightness a bit, but yeah, we'll leave it there. That's good. Right, so next is graduated filter. So I'm going to drag one over here. Depending on how wide this is obviously going to make the flow of the darkness quite strong or quite soft. So let's try that out for now. Bring this back like that. And then you want to grab your brush tool, because obviously here it's made it dark as well, just to make it all flow basically. I want part of the glasses to be, you know, a bit in the shadow. That's the whole point for me for this picture. Okay, we're going to grab another one. We're going to do the same this side, except instead of making it darker, we're going to make it lighter, just brings some light into that photo to make it really look like that beam of light was coming through, which it was. Obviously when you take the picture, it takes away the aspect a bit of it, depending on obviously how good your camera is. But I'm just going to fill in this here, and there's no possible way you can have light in a shadow. Let's just decrease the flow a bit so it obviously doesn't look so harsh. That's perfect. Then we're going to go down to the area that I like the most, and we're just going to, let's try 25 to start with. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. I think I'm going to leave it like that, to be honest. I like that. Might come back and change it a bit, but for now I think the glasses, your eyes get drawn into the glasses. You can clearly see there's a beam of light. I think it puts a lot of character onto the subject. So yeah, 5 and 8, nice. So we click on the photo and it's Command-Shift-E, and these are my export settings that I use. So it always goes into my subfolder, which is Lightroom. You can put a subfolder in if you want, make it whatever you want. I just put them all straight into Lightroom. Unless I'm working with a client, then you put them into a different folder. Existing files ask what to do, so if I change this, it's gonna eliminate all this basically, that's why that's there. Then custom name, so you make it whatever you want, so orange slice and knife. We go down to here, make it into a JPEG. 72 is the maximum quality size that Instagram will allow, so I've been told anyway, and the file size does completely get crushed. For an application that is mainly photograph based, I don't know why you can't get the quality better than that, but that's going to keep the best quality for your photo. Then I always put it on short edge, resolution 300 pixels per inch, and then here press do nothing unless I'm putting it to Photoshop or anything like that, and that's it. I'm going to start doing some Premiere Pro videos and things like that as well, maybe. Got some B-roll footage ready to do as well, but apart from that, I'll catch you next time.